Hello beautiful people, my name is Uncle Fidget and last week I showed you how to create this OBS layout so that you could record your Pokemon playthroughs. Today we're going to be taking those recordings into Premiere Pro so that you can add in Pokemon, badges. I will show you what happens when I catch Pokemon, when Pokemon die, and how to do it yourself. Of course, I don't edit my own videos anymore. Do I, Lewis?
No, you don't. Hi there guys, I'm Lewis and I am Uncle Fidget's editor. So today, exactly as he just mentioned, we are going to be going through and showing you how we go from the recorded gameplay footage to a final piece showing off all of the Pokemon and badges in this case. If you've been paying attention to Black and White, you'll also see that we have a death counter on screen, but in this case, we won't be going ahead with that. However, you can apply these exact techniques to also include that sort of thing or anything else that you want to show up on your videos. Now, as you can see, I already have Grimmsnarl, Toxtricity, Rillaboom and Corviknight loaded up on the sprite layer along with the grass type gym badge. But at the moment, you can also see that he is in possession of a Dragapult. Also, we're going to be adding in a second gym badge just to show you how we get these sprite layers started. Now, typically, if it's the first episode of a playthrough, we won't have anything on screen, but let's see how we actually start off with these sprite layers. First off, you can see I've got a single blank PNG here. Well, it's not blank, but the idea is that it's transparent so that we can just slot it right on top of the video layer. Next up, I'm going to be taking our Dragapult sprite here. I'm going to be placing it on top of the video so we can see exactly where it is just here. Over in the video effects panel, we're going to go into motion. And we're just going to put it into the right place. I hadn't had this correct one selected there, so there we go. We're going to move it along and down until it fits roughly in the center of this Pokeball. As you can see, it's already far too large, so we're going to scale that down as well, just so that it fits inside the Pokeball. We're going to leave a little bit of an overlap because we can, but if you want to get it perfectly inside the ball, just scale it down a little further. We're also going to take the Water Gym logo here as well. We're going to do the exact same thing, so we're going to click on that. We're going to go into the motion and push it into the right place. Okay, so now I'm happy with those positions. What I'm going to do is, we're going to zoom in. We're going to make sure that we are properly selected on everything. And now this video layer here, I'm just going to pull the audio layer down, video layer up and over. And now you can see we've got the black background, we've got his 5 Pokemon and 2 gym badges. I'm going to click over here on the export frame tool. You can press Ctrl Shift and E for a keyboard shortcut. I'm going to go in and we're going to call it Sprite Layer 2. Now, do make sure that this is in PNG format so that you can include your transparency and that you make sure you know where you're saving that to. Personally, I like to keep it in my projects folder. So I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to open up my projects folder. I'm going to select Sprite Layer 2 and just drag that into my bin down here. It's showing up on there, so I can now delete all of these sprite layers. Pull in Sprite Layer 2. We're going to use the Video 2 tab because Video 1 is selected for the footage. And then I'm going to bring this back into place. And you should now see everything is in the right place. So, now that that's all set up, let's have a little look through what Uncle Fidget's going to do next. So, as we can see, he is encountering an Amora. So, he's caught himself an Amora. That means that we need to update the sprite layer to include Amora. So the first thing I like to do is go back to the start of the victory fanfare, which is typically just after the click on the Pokeball. I'm going to go in and drag in the Amora here. We're basically going to do the exact same thing that we did last time. We're going to bring in the sprite. We're going to make sure it's sitting in the right place. Here it is in the 6th slot in his party. Bring down the scale slightly. Make sure it's nice and centered within the Pokeball. Bring that down a little further, actually. There we go. Sits nicely right there in the ball. Now, we're not just going to export this and stick it in as is, because I like to add a little bit of a visual fanfare along with the victory fanfare. So I actually put it in at the exact right spot there. Next up, I am going to throw in the visual fanfare that I was talking about. This here is a GIF of some stars raining down. Once again, I'm going to need to make sure that that's in the right place. So we'll slide it along so that it covers up more. I also like to have this star shower to begin just off the edge of the border there, so that it looks as though it's only on the layer of sprites and not interfering with the video. You can also see that there's a white background on there. So we're going to go into our effects panel. We are going to go into the keying, and then we're going to use a color key here. We're going to take the eyedropper tool and just click on the white. Now, as you can see, it hasn't actually done anything yet. So we're going to go up here to the color tolerance. We're going to type 2, and it's cut out the white. Unfortunately, you can kind of see a little bit of a white around the edges of the stars. So we're going to go into edge thin and hit 1. That just takes off any horrid white residue from around the edges. You could also go in with an edge feather instead if you wanted to make it a bit softer around the edges of the star. Now, if we go through that, you'll see they just fall and then they disappear. That's not what we want. So we are going to throw in a little bit of a homemade transition. Down here in the transform part of the video effects, we're going to go to crop. We're going to throw that on, and then we're going to use some keyframes. So we're going to want the top and the bottom to be keyframed. At the very start of the star shower, we want bottom to be all the way up to 100%. That way, when it comes in, it should drop along with the rest of the stars. Now, over here, once it hits the bottom, you'll notice that it's not actually at 100%, 27.7%. So that's why we're going to make our keyframe, and we're going to delete the other one. Now this keyframe we can actually do with pulling out a little bit, because we want it to come down as the stars fall. That's out a little further. Basically, just keep an eye on it until you think it looks neat. There we go, I'm quite happy with that. We're going to give it a few seconds to actually have the shower of stars. And then our top keyframe will pull into roughly that position. And then at the end, we're going to want to pull top down until you can no longer see the stars. In this case, it's about 80%. Again, we're going to scrub through and make sure that that is actually going down at roughly the same rate as the stars. As it's not, let's pull this keyframe back a touch. There we go. So, now that we're happy with that, what we need to do is go back into the effects panel and throw in a nice little dissolve on the actual sprite of Amora. Going to zoom in and extend the length of that cross dissolve to just over half. So now, when it comes in, it should look something like this. At this point, we can go over to here, because we're now happy with our layer of sprites. We're going to make a cut in the video just before, and then we're going to take the rest of our footage, pull it out of the way like we did earlier, and now we've got our layer, including the Amora on the end here. Once again, we're going to click Sprite Layer 3, and save that image. Back into our sprite bin, and then the project folder. We'll drag that in, and then we'll zoom back into the timeline and put our layers until they end together. Throw in sprite layer 3 and pull the rest of the footage back into place. Let's continue through the footage and see what happens next. Okay. So Fidget encounters a Metang. Oh dear. Looks like Grimmsnarl's out of the team. So at this point, we're going to take our Grimmsnarl sprite and we're going to put in a little death sequence. Again, if you've been keeping up with Uncle Fidget's Pokemon Black playthrough, then you'll know that at this point, we desaturate Grimmsnarl so that it's black and white. And we also throw in an emotional little rest in peace sequence. So in order to do that, we're going to zoom back in on the timeline. And I'm going to find the point at which Grimmsnarl loses its HP. There we go. I'm going to make a cut into both the sprite layer and the video layer at this point. And we are going to take it to the end of Uncle Fidget's reaction. We'll make another cut there in both of the layers. And at this point, I'm actually going to bring in a copy of sprite layer 3. We're going to place them above one another. And then we're going to go back into our crop tool in the video effects. On the bottom layer, we're actually going to turn off the visibility on video layer 3 here, just so that we can see what we're doing. We're going to crop in from the left, so that Grimmsnarl is no longer visible. If we swap over the visibility between layers 3 and 2, you'll notice that if I bring in another crop, this time we're going to be cropping in from the right, so that only Grimmsnarl is visible. Here on sprite layer 3, we are going to go into the color correction. We're going to find color balance, hue, lightness, saturation, and we're going to make another keyframe. So it's going to have 0 on saturation at the start of the clip, and it's going to have -100 at the end of the clip. We can click on the color balance here on the left, Control C or Command C to copy the effect. Head on over to the footage of the playthrough and Control V to put in a matching effect. By the end of the footage, everything has gone grey. If we turn back on the visibility on video 2, you'll see that all of the remaining Pokemon and the gym badges have stayed full colour. We're going to take the rest of the footage and push it out the way. And then over in the effects panel, we'll go to audio transitions. We'll throw in a crossfade on the footage and bring that down, because the next step is to go into our audio and video and select some sad music. Now I've already got a little piece selected here, so I'm just going to go into the audio only and drag that in place here. Let's just move this footage so that it ends when the audio ends. And then we're also going to throw in a visual crossfade, so that once the sad music has come in properly, again, we're going to need an audio crossfade for that. We'll notice that everything fades out so that we can have our rest in peace sequence. In order to do that, we're going to right click in our bin, new item and title. We're going to name it whatever we like. And then we are going to create a text box and type in RIP Grimsnarl. And we're going to change it over to the Uncle Fidget font. We're going to make it centered. We're going to increase the size. And I think that's nice. Let's pop in another space so that it hits the bottom of the screen now. Once you're happy with how that looks, we'll throw that into the video 2 layer. And we'll also take our Grimsnarl sprite onto the video 1 layer. And I'm actually just going to play around with the location of that sprite, just so that it feels a little nicer. Maybe make that a touch bigger. And then once again, we'll throw in some nice fades. I normally find that a fade tends to convey the sadness that we want from this. In fact, let's make that a little bit longer just to really draw out that misery. So we'll extend the audio, extend these videos, really give people the time to appreciate that our Grimsnarl has left this mortal plane. So, once it all comes together, it should look like this. The last thing that we need to do now, once Uncle Fidget has removed the threat of the metang, there we go. So we can now throw in the end card and finish off the video. So, last thing that we're going to do is go in, grab the end card, pop it on top, and we should be good to go. Be sure to subscribe, like, comment, ring the bell, all the YouTube things, and we'll see you on the next one.